The Mets lost another game last night, 2-1 to Milwaukee, and I actually watched, and I don't know why I watched. I watched it for like 25 minutes, and I like misery, apparently. The Mets are currently 35-43, so they played 78 games. They've won 35 of them. They are 16 games back of Atlanta in the division and 8 games back of a wild card spot. Make a market with the fair price for what the wins are that the Mets will finish with at the end of the year. So their kind of new win total, not the rest of the season, but like including these games. How many games will the Mets win this year? They're 35-43 through 78 games. Basically, it's what direction do you think this is going to go in? Shaun, do you want to go first? You wrote down your answer really fast.
Yeah.
That's pretty terrible. 76.5 for people who are listening and not watching is Shaun's answer.
Oh, so in order, point. I should say it. Yeah, we're on radio still. Yes.
Oh, you're fine. Wow, you actually, you have them being pretty bad. They're gonna win. They're gonna be 41-43 basically the rest of the season.
But that's a better pace than they're currently on. I actually have them playing better baseball.
You actually have them playing better.
Yeah. Yes, I thought about this. Yeah, better, but not great. Dude. We'll see what people's answers are.
Are they going to have a new manager during that?
Well, I think, is going to be part of it. I think at some point Buck will be fired. I think they'll have probably a hot 2 weeks that help them play a little better. But I don't think people realize how bad they are record-wise.
They're awful. Like, what was Verlander's quote? Like, well, we didn't see this coming. Well, yeah, when you stink, nobody's like, yeah, we're going to stink. Like, that's not really how it works.
They're 4 games from their halfway point. If they played 500 baseball the rest of the way, they still wouldn't get 76.5. So I actually have them playing above 500 the rest of the way.
So you're glass half full. You're optimistic. It's like, oh, well, what does optimistic look like? 76.5.
Right. The season's toast. Don't get me wrong. But I think 76.5 is a fair number based on what we've seen.
So I'm actually around the same as Shaun. I'm at 74.5.
No, you wrote it down too. Nice. Good job, man. That was good.
Yeah. Thanks. But I'm even worse.
The point is nobody thinks they're going to be good. That's the point.
No, it's done, man. I live here. It's done.
It's done? What do you think, Jake? Why'd you go with that number?
Because, I think they're cooked. Like, I just think they're bad. I agree. I don't think Buck will get fired, but I think there'll be a kind of like stepping away or like mutual parting of ways where it's like, okay, yeah, you got fired because you stink at your job.
Mutual,
like,
right.
I think it's just they stink. I think they just don't have it. And eventually, like, at some point, if they're really bad, don't you think they shut down Verlander and Scherzer and say, all right, we'll try again next year? Like, no need for you guys to potentially get injured in September when we're a million games back. So we'll just see you next year.
That sounds brutal. Tyler, what'd you put here in like 30 seconds?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same lines as Shaun. I wrote it down too. You can't see it. I put 78.5. So I do think they're going to play pretty well, but above their standards now.
So I feel like if I heard the numbers, I'd be like, oh, like all of you really don't think they're going to turn it around, but yet you all do have them playing better than they're playing right now.
Yeah.
Which is like it's such a weird place to be.
How far cooked they really are, I think, is still like kind of shocking to people who haven't paid attention.
Isn't there like a pretty big chance this just totally nosedives? Like our team's not average a lot. Very few teams are just like average, right? Yeah.
Ken, they're also in the midst of a month where this is like by far their toughest schedule stretch. So I think the schedule will get a little easier. They'll probably I think Buck will step away and then we'll get a little better baseball. All right. So with that, we closed on sports market sweep here with the Mets total. I had 76.5. We had Jake had a 74.5. And I think Tyler was 78.5?
Tyler was 78.5.
78.5.
All
right. So you were going to tell us which one you think is most on the nose before we get to the next kind of rounds, right?
Yeah, and it's a great market is in the eye of the beholder. So this is just like kind of what I think. I think who had the lowest one? Jake had the lowest one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I had 74.5.
That's going to be I think I'm going under all those. I think this might get really bad, like really bad.
Well, we're talking about wins in the 60s here for the Mets this year.
But like, I don't know, just a baseball team with like a ton of money and like hype and stuff. Like it seems just really an unlikely thing to be average. So like it's either gonna get way better, or it's like totally pull the plug. Like I don't think they're gonna win like 80 games. Like like in September? I'm not saying like Jake's saying they might rest Verlander and Scherzer. I have no idea. Like I don't know anything about that. But like, are there just they're like still like going for it if they're like 9 back? Like what happens?
I mean, well, you got again, like I said, they're in like an unbelievable schedule stretch right now.
Well,
so
what are the first
called up some
78
of these
games been? An unbelievable 78 game schedule stretch? Okay.
I know, but like they've called up some of these young guys. If they finally just let all of them cook and play, like they might be too dumb to care that their season's basically over.
The 2023 Mets, too dumb to care. That's good. I like that.
Too dumb to care. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking. They're going to play the Nats, the Red Sox, the White Sox in July here. I mean, again, I don't think any of us have them playing great baseball, but I think playing 500 baseball might be just playing good baseball, playing back to their means a little bit.
And they're not going to sell.
So
I guess that's the idea too. Like they're never selling.
They might. I mean, I think Starlin
Marte. They might sell.
Again, they're going to play the Pirates.
Where are they going to sell?
I think Marte will probably get sold, and like. I don't know, man. Would it shock anybody if they found Scherzer a spot where he could waive his no trade clause to get the hell out of there and go play for a contender and like try to maybe get something?
No.
The Mets have no pitching.
Then why is your number 65 if that's the case? If this is all I didn't even know this was being talked about.
It's now started early discussions here, but why my number is that? I hate to break it to you. Scherzer sucks. So, like, getting rid of him, I don't think. I know this sounds crazy. Like, I think the Mets might figure this out a little bit where. They just hit their way out of it. I'm also picking 76.5. I'm not picking a good
you picked a low number. You picked under 500. Yeah. But
I'm basically picking them to play slightly above 500 baseball the rest of the way because Brett Beatty and Francisco Alvarez go on a tear and they have fun the rest of the year.
It just seems like usually baseball teams hit this point in like the next couple weeks where it's fork in the road time. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's not just like, well, we'll just like kind of stay like this. We'll win like 79 games. It's like, no, you either like you dump everything or you're just naturally awful because you've already dumped everything or you go for it. So teams end up splitting into these two groups. Yeah.
So I agree with your mindset. This is actually an interesting conversation, which I guess I shouldn't put the word actually. Me and you were having a conversation should always be interesting. But
and you actually made a good point there. I'll actually give you credit for that.
But you're hosting Sports Market Sweep here. I think we all gave fair numbers that even if you were just listening to the show went, wow,
they were all really
good. The Mets in the 70s. Yeah. But what would you, if you're betting the under, where do you think they fall? Because now we're talking about a Mets season where the wins you think totally fall out and they're basically telling me you think they're going to be in the 60s.
Well, yeah, just because that's what they are with everyone playing. Like now that everyone's played for a while, and they're
Pete
terrible.
Alonso's also been out.
Yeah,
Pete Alonso was out a bunch, so that was a big deal.
Verlander is still. Are you gonna argue he's like not all the way back? Is that like kind of going to be the argument too? Is that going to be a thing?
He's been
the
fine.
relievers. I mean, the relievers were hurt for a while, and then they didn't use them. Yeah.
I mean, when you're relying on David Robertson just to be like your only guy because Ottavino sucks. So the team, look, let's be honest, the team actually kind of just sucks. Period, and we should have saw this coming.
Right? This is what I'm saying.
But I don't think asking them to be, asking them to be a 77 win team, you're still a bad baseball team.
That's true. They're the playoff market from MGM is on our screen right now. They're plus 370 to reach. Remember, 6 teams make the playoffs, right? We're up to 6 now. They changed it last year. Yeah. So 6 teams make the playoffs. So again, like expand the field, and they're minus 475 to miss the playoffs. So even if you're like, yeah, they stink, they're not going to make it. Now, part of that is that like the Braves are obviously already going to make it. The Central's only going to give you probably one team because the Reds, I think, are going to lose a lot more. And the Giants and the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks are all awesome. So like you're already like up against it in terms of how many teams can get spots. But like, I guess, I don't know. I guess they'll just be really interesting. They strike me as a team where everyone's and I bring this up because in other sports, this happens all the time also, where you get like halfway through a season. No, like they got it. And then it's like, no, they don't got it. Like they don't got it. They definitely don't got it. Yeah. And we do that with good teams too. Like we do that with, what would be a baseball team where that's probably happening right now? Like the Orioles or Arizona, where I'm sure they're like a short favorite a bunch of times and against teams that they play, and they win like 70% of their games. And the market's just like, nope, they're bad. Like, or they're just average, or they're not very good. They just keep winning.
To trust them.
And yeah. So I think the Mets are kind of the inverse of that.
Interesting. Okay.